Making fun of Florida man or Florida woman for bizarre headlines is an age-old tradition, but it's not all memes and bad hurricane prep down here. I recently came across a story that broke sometime around Thanksgiving, and this one is just sad. A woman in Osceola County, a few hours from where I live, was arrested a couple of weeks ago for some of the worst crimes imaginable. 35-year-old Kelsey Glover has now been indicted by a grand jury for first-degree murder of her own 14-year-old daughter. Child murderers deserve a special place in hell as it is, but Glover also allegedly deprived her daughter, Giselle Glover, a type 1 diabetic, of her insulin medication before the murder. This led Jazelle to suffer greatly before she was killed. Even worse, Kelsey reportedly violently attacked her roommate when the roommate tried to stop her and save Jazelle. We're going to look at the video of Kelsey's disturbing behavior during her perp walk and go over the court document that gives insight into what happened that day. The reason I wanted to talk about this case is because I think it will eventually bring about important conversations about the death penalty, as well as the differences between mental illness, antisocial behavior, and criminal incompetence. Today, I'm going to go over what I've gathered about this case so far. This motion for pretrial detention outlines some of what happened from the witness's perspective, the witness who I believe was the roommate. On November 20th, the defendant was arrested pursuant to an arrest warrant for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and battery. The victim of those charges it's redacted. As detailed in the arrest warrant, the victim and the defendant reside together with the defendant's 2 children. The victim assists the defendant in caring for the children. When the victim was attempting to assist with the defendant's daughter, the defendant became violent towards the victim and struck her several times. The defendant then armed herself with a hammer and made threats to kill the victim. So the roommate is trying to save the 14-year-old daughter, and Kelsey attacks her to prevent her from doing so. I think that's a pretty special type of fucked up. In detailed supplemental reports, law enforcement obtained a sworn statement from the victim. The victim indicated that the defendant took her minor daughter off her insulin medication. The daughter became ill and was vomiting, not eating, and feeling weak. The victim was arguing with the defendant about the daughter needing medical assistance. The defendant refused to give the daughter her medication or take her for medical treatment. The daughter was having difficulty consuming water due to it making her ill. The defendant put the daughter in the bathtub, grabbed her by the hair, and held her head underwater. The victim, the roommate, was able to remove the daughter from the water and began CPR. The defendant attempted to prevent the victim's efforts and pushed the victim out of the bathroom. The victim contacted law enforcement, and the defendant armed herself with a hammer and began to threaten the victim. Like, this woman wanted so badly to kill her own daughter that she assaulted someone. Law enforcement observed several holes in the door that were consistent with the hammer striking the door. The daughter was transported to the hospital and was pronounced deceased. The Osceola County Sheriff's Office is awaiting the findings of the autopsy, but reasonably expect to add the charge of first-degree murder for the death of the defendant's daughter. Now we're going to take a look at the perp walk when Kelsey was arrested for these crimes. These videos were obtained by Fox 35 Orlando and Law and Crime.
How are you feeling right now? Are you innocent? Are you innocent? Yahweh. Yeah. What happened this morning in Point Siena? What happened this morning? What happened this morning?
Anything you want to say right now?
Anything you want to say about what you're being accused of? Lying and ignorant.
She seems pretty unbothered there to me, but this gets worse. So the full clips are going to be at the links that I'm going to put in the description of this video. So this was the Fox 35 video, and then now we're going to see the Law and Crime one. This will be a different angle. So she's just like smiling. Creepy as fuck. They don't have the sound on this one. I'm presuming that's because of the swearing, but... And then you can see Kelsey in the background there taking the angle that we just saw. Not really seeing any remorse from her. Doesn't seem upset at all. She doesn't really say enough, obviously, to get any idea of why she did what she did. According to the Osceola County Sheriff Marcos Lopez, this woman had battered her husband, Giselle's father, in the same house. This led to him getting an injunction against her. I'm wondering why she was even allowed to have custody of the child after that, but there's a lot to this story that we just don't know. Sheriff Lopez stated there were 4 people in the home at the time of the incident: Glover, her daughter, another child, and someone else who lived with them. And I believe the other child was also Kelsey's child, which is just terrible. I mean, that kid got to be traumatized, That's terrible. Now, in my opinion, this woman's attitude, her affect, her demeanor is a reflection of one of 2 possibilities. It's either severe mental illness or the purest form of evil. I'll be following along to see how things develop and what we can learn about her mindset and motives. I'm sure that will take time because this is all still pretty new, but there's something that we can all do right now to help the family of Giselle Glover. Her father wrote a beautiful tribute on the GoFundMe he created to raise funds to bring Giselle to their hometown in Virginia, where she would be laid to rest. And I will also have a link to that GoFundMe in the description here, guys. Honoring Giselle Milan Glover. The most unimaginable challenge in this world is having to say goodbye to your child and trying to navigate life without them. Our hearts are broken, but we want to bring our angel home and celebrate her life the way she truly deserves. We are working to transport her back to her hometown in Virginia, where she can rest in peace, surrounded by the love of her family. From the depths of our hearts, the Glover and Campbell families want to express our profound gratitude to everyone who has called, texted, and shown up to support us during this heartbreaking time. Your kindness means more than the words can say. If you feel moved to contribute, we are accepting donations to help honor her memory, but please note that the love, prayers, and support we've received have been a blessing in themselves. Thank you, and God bless. And then here we have Giselle's father's final letter to his daughter. To Daddy's Princess. I write this letter to you with tears in my eyes and a heart heavy with the weight of the loss we all feel. Words can't truly capture the emptiness that fills every corner of our lives without you. From the moment you were born, you were the strongest soldier God ever created. You never let your type 1 diabetes define you or hold you back. Instead, you turned it into something that inspired us all, showing us how to take life's challenges and turn them into stepping stones. I have never met a girl as intelligent as you. The way you used those big words, always leaving us to Google them, filled us with awe. We never knew where you picked up such an incredible vocabulary, but it made us proud every single time. You were more than just smart, though you were beautiful, inside and out. Your soul was pure, and your heart was full of love. You always cared so deeply about others, always the first to ask, "Are you okay?" or "Do you need anything?" You had a way of making everyone around you feel special. I will forever cherish the love you had for your brother, the joy you found in teasing him, the way you two would plot together to get what you wanted, and we all knew it was hard to say no to Princess Giselle. There's so much I'll never get to do with you, things I had dreamed of, like buying your first car, spending my whole check on your prom dress, walking you down the aisle, and sharing that first father-daughter dance. But I hold tight to the memories we did make, and I take comfort in knowing you were loved beyond measure. You were a child of God, and I find peace in knowing that you no longer suffer, that you can now dance and sing in his presence, just as your heart always deserved. Until we meet again, my sweet Princess Giselle, know that we all love you, always and forever. God bless you, with all my love, Daddy. To murder a child is unimaginable to most of us, and it's one of the worst things a person could ever do. But the nature of this one is even more baffling. When a type 1 diabetic doesn't get their insulin, their body starts to break itself down, and they can end up with a condition called diabetic ketoacidosis, which people refer to as DKA. This can lead to pain, weakness, shortness of breath, confusion, dehydration, feeling very thirsty, feeling like you have to throw up or actually throwing up. If they're throwing up and they can't keep down food or water, that's time to see a doctor right away. Now, the other person in the household saw that and tried to do the right thing, but Kelsey Glover attacked her for it. That child was both desperate for water and not able to keep the water down. Now, of course, Kelsey hasn't been convicted of these crimes yet. She was only just formally indicted, but from what we know so far, this all seems pretty damning. Stories like this make me think that some people don't deserve to be rehabilitated, frankly. I saw a comment on Reddit where someone said people like this should be sentenced to death by the same method they used to take another life, And I have to say, I don't think I necessarily disagree with that. Well, that's unrealistic, but I wouldn't say no to that. I'll have more thoughts on this to share later as more information becomes available. Thank you all for watching.